Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Political Head Trauma. I am your host, Holly Crowley-Raybani, and I have my much loved and much respected Mr. Producer with us, Dwayne. How are you today, friend?
I am good. It's a beautiful day up here in the mountains.
Yes, it's a beautiful day outside. I am excited. Today is the day that we welcome from District 29, Sheldon Birch, who is running to serve in House seat, District 9, and he's a good guy. He wanted to come on the show. I scheduled him for the end of May, and here we are, the end of May. I can't even believe it. It's going to be June.
And what happened to May? It just went up in smoke.
It did. It went so fast. I celebrate so many. My birthday, my husband's birthday, my daughter's birthday, our anniversary, my cousin's birthday, my sister-in-law's. It's such a busy month of birthdays and you got Memorial Day. So it's just it's my favorite month, if I must say, to have a favorite.
Over the weekend, I went to the Soldier Hollow Border Collie Championship. It was spectacular up here. They're in Midway. They're at the Soldier Hollow, the cross country event venue, and
I've never been to one, but man, I love watching them.
You gotta see these dogs. They're amazing. They are unbelievable. They actually herd sheep through this trail, through a obstacle course, up and down the mountain. They bring them down. The dogs separate the sheep into two little bodies. There's two little flocks. And then they put them into a pen. The dogs bring them into a pen. Some of them make it to the pen. Some of them don't. But it was like a spectacular weekend. So
well, I've seen them. I've seen the videos of them, and I am amazed at how much these dogs do. And I usually see the videos are usually out of Ireland and Scotland, and
people come from all over the world. Yeah, they come from Scotland, Ireland, South America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and this is one of the biggest shows and one of the biggest competitions in the country and maybe the world. They have as many as 20,000 people there. It's a 4-day event. It's it's competition.
Back up for cause of death.
Sorry, that was weird. That's amazing. So how much were tickets to see that?
Well, because I built their website, I got in for free. But I think they're $28 for adults, and they keep going up, But you spend all day there. They have lamb burgers, they got food trucks, they got demonstrations. They show you how the border collies work by bringing out ducks, and these older border collies, they're retired, okay?
Yeah.
And they herd the ducks instead of the sheep.
I've actually seen them herd ducks and by color on TikTok. They'll separate the black ducks and the white ducks and the yellow ducks, and they'll herd them based on color. These dogs are phenomenal.
They're amazing.
And they say dogs are colorblind. How would they do?
Dogs are colorblind, but they can tell the difference. The shades of gray. They know. So.
Wow. Well, my weekend was pretty special. We went to Milford on Sunday to spread the ashes of my stepfather, who passed in November, and we spread them with his parents in Milford in that cemetery. And I hadn't been in Milford in a long time, but that is a very, very small town. And then we went on to Beaver to stay in a hotel, and it was just really, really nice. I got time with my mom and my kids, and it was just a really special time. So, good weekend. I hope everybody out there had a good weekend. I I asked my kids, what's Memorial Day? You know, why do we celebrate Memorial Day? Because few people, I think, realize that it's for those who never became veterans because they never got to come home. And, you know, we have a Veterans Day, but Memorial Day is special for those who die in the line of duty to be remembered. And it's such an amazing, I'm glad that it's a holiday that people get together with family and remember those who have passed. But I hope that everybody remembers those who never got to come home, because that is really, really the point of holiday. It's a very special day. So I'm looking, I don't see us on Facebook right now. So I'm going to have to share us. And maybe it's because of me and my login and not Jared's.
Let's see. Yeah, it might. Well, but hang on. I'm going to see what's on. I'm looking here. I'm in the political head trauma, and I don't think this is the right place. I think it has to be Jared's.
Yeah, it could be. Miss you, Jared. Always something. Well, I'm excited tonight to talk to Sheldon. We, you know, in that race, I was running against him, and, you know, I got a chance to speak with him, and I really like him a lot. Good guy. And I was excited to have him join me. So I'm thinking that if I were to go to add channel, could I add Facebook on here?
Well, you could try. You could add the channel, but if you look there, you'll see that political head trauma is in there. What does it say? Oh, there might be a problem with it. Let's see. Let's see.
So I'll add it to a group.
Oh, it says
many
unable
people-
to. It says unable to connect. I wonder why.
Well, maybe it's Facebook. It's asking me for a stream key.
Hang on. Let's see.
What would a
Let's
stream key be? That's okay.
Oh,
This is,
I see. It needs a stream key, and it probably has the wrong one. Dang it.
well, that's okay. I'm just going to copy and share this on Facebook, and hopefully people will be able to see us there, and they'll come over to YouTube and leave comments.
Your Rumble and your YouTube are working, but we need the key for the political head trauma Facebook.
Okay. Well, in the future, I'll have to work on that.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
In the meantime,
Yeah, it says offline. We need the key. We need the key. But your YouTube should be up.
excellent. Well, it is up. I see it is up and running, and I'm going to just post the YouTube link over on Facebook. So for those of you that can, you know, tune in there, you can always see us on YouTube, and then I'll get Facebook figured out.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure it out. I saw that it was in there, but it does say it's not streaming. Yeah, it's not streaming. So we may need we may need your buddy Jared to help out with this.
Well, I want to talk to you for a second, and why don't you give us an oversight on what you've heard or seen regarding the Delta, or excuse me, we talked about it earlier.
Box Elder data center.
Box Elder data center, right? What are you seeing or hearing?
Well, one of the things I told you is that it's multifaceted, okay? And what I know about data centers is I've worked in data centers, and I've worked with cryptocurrency mining. I've worked in big co-location facilities. I used to rent servers in one of those big buildings. It was the 7th Street building in LA, which doesn't mean anything to anybody here, but it was one of the big data centers. And that one was down in a basement. It was below a huge building, and they had 6 or 8 floors of basement where they put all of these servers. And that's really what it is. It's a server farm. Now, the one that they're building up in, the controversy over the one they're going to be building in Box Elder is huge. It's
Oh, yeah.
massive, massive football fields and football fields and football fields of buildings and servers. And one of the problems with that is they get hot. You put your laptop on your lap and it'll keep you warm in the wintertime. Well, imagine 10,000 servers, 10,000 of those in one room. It
Haven't
gets hot.
technology advanced enough yet to where they don't get as hot?
No, because there's electricity running through them and they use that power to make the chips work, and the chips get hot. If you
Gotcha.
have a desktop, it's got a fan in it. If you have a laptop, some of the laptops actually have fans in them to cool them, and you can hear them. They start running. You can hear your laptop fan kick in.
I think everybody who's owned a laptop at least one time or another has had one where the fan goes out.
Yes, and then
in the old days,
starts doing funny things when the fan goes out.
It does, and you start getting really innovative real quick on how to keep your laptop cool.
They overheat. Okay.
Yeah.
And imagine 10,000 laptops stacked on a rack with all that heat coming out. They need cooling, and they use chillers, it's like a water cooler, okay, to cool them, which means it requires water. Okay. But now they've got some that run off of radiators. So the radiator, it's like an air conditioner, okay, instead of using a chiller. So there are workarounds, and Mr. Wonderful really wants this place here. What's his name from
Spencer?
No, the guy who's behind all of this. I'm trying to think of his name. Let's see. Kevin O'Leary. That name mean anything to you?
No.
Well, he's a Canadian businessman. He was a TV personality. And what the heck was his show?
Is he funding it?
He's behind it. He's partially funding it because he's a gazillionaire. Okay. He's been on Canadian television. Let's see. He had a I forget what the show was here, but television personality, has lots of money, businessman, and he wants to get this data center here. Now, on top of cooling, the thing that makes it hot is the power. So it's going to need massive power. And they're putting this thing out in Box Elder County where there's no water and there's no power. So it's like,
That's just it, though. Water is power. I mean, they are one and the same.
They're one and the same.
One without the other. Now, I've also heard it's been said that it takes about as much water comparable to how much it takes to run an alfalfa farm. Is that accurate? Because I know those farms take a lot of water. And farms in Utah tend to be the ones that use the most water.
They use the most water, yes. Well, and you got to remember, people say to me, "Oh, Utah's having a drought. It's a drought. It's a big drought." And I look over at Deer Creek Reservoir, and it's full to the top. Okay, you couldn't put any more water in there. Same thing with what's the other one that's up above it is the reservoirs are full. Jordanelle, that's the one. Yes. But you got to remember, we live in a desert. Okay. I mean, yes, we get more snow than anybody else, although that didn't happen this year. But
now in a couple of years, actually.
Utah is a desert. And, I'm from California. I lived in LA most of my life till I moved here. And people would complain about the same thing there. They'd say, "Oh, it's a drought. It's a drought." And I go, no, you live in a desert. You are 200 miles in LA from the hottest, driest place on the planet, which is Death Valley.
Right.
So the problem is not that we're in a drought. The problem is that there's too many people for the amount of water that we get. Okay. And, Utah is one of the fastest growing states, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm looking around at the stuff up here in Heber, and I go, "Well, this looks like the San Fernando Valley did when I was a kid." But
it's all those Californians,
doesn't look like that now,
Yeah, they priced us out of our homes, and now we've got no water and resources. But I also know that AI is the big, there's a big push to make it be America first, that gets all the firsts in everything in AI and to control AI worldwide. And I mean, that's probably a discussion we could do a whole show on. In fact, I
Yes.
know we could, and what the future looks like with AI. And if Utah is a home to one of the data centers that is going to keep all of the data on all of the citizens of the world, essentially. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Well, we already have some big data centers here. This out there at the point of the mountain, there's a massive data center. And
yeah, that's the federal government's
that's
data
the Fed. That's the Feds. That's correct. It's CIA, NSA, FBI. All of their data is there. Well, this place that they're going to be setting up in Box Elder County is 10 times that size.
Is it
really
private owned or is it government owned?
Well, yes. It's a little of both. The government's funding it, private investors are funding it, and like I said to you, this is a multifaceted thing. There are, if you hang out in the Twitter sphere, you'll hear people say, well, the reason that there are people up in arms is because the Chinese have funded the opposition to it, because the Chinese don't want us to build this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's all rumors. You don't know what's true. They won't tell you. Okay. But I do know that the people in Box Elder County are not happy. They are not happy. Did you see the event? The county council meeting? See any of that stuff?
No.
It was packed. Okay. It was so packed that it was really warm in the room, and the people were protesting, and the council said, we're going to do it anyway.
Wow.
But I think because of the protests, they've put some things on hold. It's a complicated story with lots of facets. Okay. And man, I'm not 100% for it, but then if the Chinese are against it, I'm for it.
Well, if the Chinese are funding the protests, like I've heard been alleged, I would be interested in that. I know that as far as AI is concerned, they are trying to be first as well.
Yes, they don't want us doing this.
That has been the argument by Donald Trump and other technological leaders and founders, is that if China gets to AI first, we'll be in trouble. I think we're going to be in trouble either way. And now, I'm not a naysayer against AI, but you watch the graduation speeches throughout the nation this past weekend, and people are getting booed. These college kids are booing the speakers for even mentioning AI, because here they've spent a couple $100,000 on an education that'll be replaced potentially by AI, and
Yes,
they're not happy about it. Now, I do think that every college and every degree, whatever your degree is, there should be AI taught in how to use AI to better yourself in that degree. I think everyone should be AI savvy, just because it is coming. But what happens if it takes 90% of the jobs, like some people are suggesting? You would have to create livable wages that are handed out by the government, and then we become a communist regime.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you got to remember that back in the days when everything was horse-drawn and the vehicles started coming out, they're going, everybody's going to lose their job. How are we going to, all of these people on horseback? The innovation will take care of itself. And I got to tell you, I use AI all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
I use GPT, I use Claude, I use Grok, I use them all. But then I'm a tech guy. Okay.
Right.
But I used to write code. The old learn to code, that old statement.
Yeah.
Well, I don't write any code anymore. AI writes it for me, but I still have to go through and fix it. It's not perfect. It tries to be all things to all people. And here's the funny thing. When I've been in tech all my life. 1980, I graduated from college, and I had a computer science degree. What I learned in school has nothing to do with what I do today. It's completely different. Now, the good thing about it was I had a basis in microprocessors and computers from back then. So, but I've been in school since 1980. Okay, since before you were born.
Sweetheart, I was born before 1980, but thank you.
And I will tell you, I worked. There's a Navy base, Pacific Missile Test Center at Point Mugu in California, in 1980. Let's see, it would have been 1983 or 84. We were talking about AI back then.
Yeah.
It's not this brand new thing this big buzzword that everybody thinks it is. It's been going on for a long time. Okay?
Don't you remember the movie War Games in the 80s?
Yeah.
See, I remember that movie, and that was, I think, even before Terminator. But, the Gen X generation, we heard about AI when we were kids. It wasn't new, but I don't think anyone logically put it into how it's going to change the world for investment bankers, for even lawyers. I mean, you can get any law case at any time based on anything just that quickly. And, there's going to be jobs. You and I talked about surgeries being performed by robots. They have been doing surgeries by robots for quite some time. And some hospitals have an AI actually on staff. And for every diagnosis or every test result I ever got in these last year, I have put it through an AI first. And I go to my doctor with all that information in hand, and it's been right every single time. And
How dare you question the doctors?
I'm not questioning, but part of me thinks that my doctor is doing the same thing, because we do follow that same. I tell them, explain it to me in very layman terms, and the AI will explain to me what that result means, questions I should ask my doctor, potential treatments, and pros, cons of what I have in the future. Well, my doctor comes in and understands my test results and is ready for my questions and is ready to talk about the treatments. And we're having a conversation about my care where I'm actually giving good information, and it's a back and forth where I feel like I'm in control of my care, and I love that.
So is AI a good thing or a bad thing, Holly?
Medically, it's a great thing. Yes. Medically, if it could cure cancer, which some people believe it will, when you have every single test subject study, any clinical studies that have been done, even if it's a doctor in Indonesia and he's doing it on 100 patients, doctors in small villages in Africa, but they're doing it and they're putting it into the computer. And now everybody's getting that data. The AI, the smart AI, is actually going to use that to deduct best treatments or best outcomes using all 8 billion of us.
Well, yes. And, Arthur C. Clarke, Arthur C. Clarke, he was a science fiction writer. He had what he called the third law. Okay. And his law was any technology sufficiently advanced approaches magic. And AI is just a tool. Electricity is just a tool. Gasoline is just a tool. Nuclear power is just a tool. Can be double-edged swords. Okay.
Guns are just a tool.
Guns are just a tool. Okay. Yes. So you cannot stop the technology. You can't stop it. So you might as well embrace it. And I know that's easy for me to say because I've been embracing it for 50 years. Okay.
Well, that brings me back to the data center. Do we just embrace it as Utah being the home and the hub for a data center of this size? Because Texas is going to have one, I believe. They're going to have them all over the country.
Texas is the capital of crypto mining. Okay. And crypto mining it's just AI is all it is. It's just massive algorithms that calculate, that actually mine cryptocurrency. Okay. They're huge. And one of their problems is the electricity cost is fixed cost. Okay. And if it takes more electricity to generate a Bitcoin than the Bitcoin's worth, then it doesn't work. Okay. So I have a couple of other things I'd like to say about data centers. One of them
Please.
is, and I think I told you this, maybe I said this on the air, but when you build a center like that, you're filling it with microcomputers, with processors. Okay. By the time you get that building full, especially if it's that size, you got to start over again, because all of the ones you first started with a year and a half later are now obsolete. So
Technology advances so quickly.
it's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. Once you finish painting it, you got to start over and paint it again. Okay. Now here's another thing. Mr. Elon Musk, he's going to be moving the data centers to space. So it may eventually become a moot point.
Sure.
He's got satellites up there that you can put data centers in. Okay. They're just going to build bigger ones, and put the data centers in space. Mainly because now everybody really does have access to it. It can be beamed down. It's now like his Starlink. Everybody will have access. So
Well, and then it stay cool up there.
it stays cool.
What do they use? The sun?
One side of the space station is cool. The other side is hot.
Do they use solar to run it?
No, all you got to do is take the cold air from one side and pump it through.
No, I'm wondering, what's the power source? Sun, I'm assuming. They use the sun to run it.
But you also, when you're in space, you don't have the problem of it being, it's always on. You're in the sun all the time. Okay.
Sure.
Here the sun goes down every night, and so you're half the day you're not generating electricity. In space, 24/7. It's in the sun all the time.
I just noticed the people of Box Elder I know are unhappy, and I have some friends that are in politics that are unhappy. They're unhappy with it coming up as quickly. It feels quickly. I don't know how long this idea has been in the works. I don't know how much the people have had a say in it from its beginning. Did a private company purchase the land and then decide that's what they're going to do, and then it got out that that's what it's going to be, and this is how much water it's going to need? I'm curious. So I am asking someone to join me on the show next week who's going to discuss that with me, and hopefully we'll get somebody positive on it and someone who's negative on it, and then you guys can make your decision on where you stand with it. It could be a huge benefit to our nation. It could also be detrimental to Box Elder and Utah. I think water is an issue. The Great Salt Lake is an issue. And for the Great Salt Lake to be as low as it is, that affects our county terribly.
Yes,
how are you going to provide water for that?
That's another thing. The Salt Lake used to be a huge ocean, inland ocean, and it's been evaporating for 30,000 years. So it's going to keep evaporating. There's not enough water coming into it to keep it from running dry. But it's salt water. You can't use it anyway. Although, our governor thinks all we need is a pipeline to the Pacific Ocean, and we can fill it back up.
Is that it? I mean, it's highly dense in salt. It's more than the ocean. It is
way more.
Highly dense, and that's where your salt comes from. That's on your table, and that's that water is what ran the Magnesium Corporation, and Morton Salt is out there. You've got businesses out there that, and Magcor is a big one. It's an international provider of titanium and magnesium, things like that.
That part of the problem is some of that stuff is toxic, and
sure.
And so they got to be careful with it, and filling it with water is not really the solution. There's run a pipeline and fill it up, but you still, there's that Great Salt Lake is huge. It's a desert between Salt Lake City and the Sierras. I used to drive from here to Mammoth to go skiing, and there's 5 mountain ranges between here and California. 5 passes you got to go over. It's a big desert. There's not much out there. So maybe bringing something in that brings in people is a good thing. I don't know. So
Sheldon said that the link isn't working. He's tried it. Could you could you resend it? He says he's tried it, and it's a weird @ sign at the end of the link. So he's tried to log in with it the way you sent it and without that @ sign.
I'm going to resend it to him.
Maybe I could send it to him.
Oh, you know what? When I pasted it in, oh, he's right. It's not. It looks kind of funky. It looks kind of funky. Hang on. Let me do this. I was
So
wondering. It's getting to be.
He
Hang
was
on.
actually early.
I'm going to send him one right back.
If you haven't noticed yet, I'm missing Jared here, and Dwayne has been walking me through how all this works, and I'm so happy to have him. Thank you so much, Dwayne. And
You're very welcome.
Their support has been phenomenal, and I hope that if you're joining us from Facebook, by next week I should be able to have the Facebook link go up. But I appreciate you tuning in, and you are able to comment on our YouTube. We will see it. Isn't that right, Dwayne, that the YouTube comments will show up on my
I think
screen?
so. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see. Chat. There you go. Can you see that on the right?
I just see you.
You don't
Is there something
see
I should click?
No, I just popped up the chat from YouTube.
Oh, do I have to click chat?
Oh, try it. I'm looking at it. Click the chat.
There it is. Hi, William. William's on. Hello, guys. Good evening. They are amazing. And I'm not sure what he's referring to, but now that I've got chat working, you guys, now we're cooking with gas. Speaking of gas.
If you were linked to your Facebook, you'd see the Facebook chat there too.
Well,
we'll get that next time. Okay.
We'll figure that out. Yeah. And speaking of gas, I am having done a road trip this weekend. I am amazed at this gas pricing. It's painful, and my heart is with the truckers out there. They got to get their goods and services across the nation, and to everyday Americans trying to go to work. I'd like to see some positivity. I'd like to see the prices go down and something to happen in Iran that's actually positive for Americans. I'm very angry.
Can you text Sheldon and tell him that I resent the link?
Yes, I told him.
And I looked at it, and I had put some. It was not right. It was not right. See,
Yeah,
even your tech guru is not such a guru. I screwed up his email.
Oh, you did?
Well, yeah. Fat fingered it.
Well, what I'm going to do really quick is
I'm watching for him. Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to hurry and resend it to you just in case, so that it's the same. So I just texted it to you just to double check that you have. Well, it must be right because he got it. The link just wasn't working. So you must have the right email.
Oh, yeah. He got that's his email. I resent his email with the right link. So you can text him and say he should have it. We'll see him appear here in a minute. I'm hoping.
I'm worried that he's panicking because that's what I would be panicking. But he was early. It was our fault. And we're just grateful to have him tonight. Well, I don't know how everyone's doing it. Last time we talked, I asked everybody to comment on what their thoughts are regarding Donald Trump and the Republican Party. I see that Thomas Massey has been voted out, and that to me was heartbreaking. I think Thomas Massey was a true conservative, and to see him go was devastating.
Guess what? Sheldon is here.
Excellent. Let's bring him on in.
Go ahead and finish your thought about Iraq.
Well, and Texas, John Cornyn, I think, out of Texas, has been replaced now by Kent Paxton.
Ken Paxton.
So he's been knocked out. And Ken Paxton was actually given Trump's endorsement as well. So I hate to see Massey gone. I don't mind about John Cornyn, but I think that it's important that the Republican Party is not doing anything. And it's bothering me terribly that John Thune couldn't get the American Act passed. And that still, I think, is in people's minds.
I don't know what they're doing. You know, they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency, and they have the Supreme Court. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you people doing? Well, your guest is here. Shall I pop him in?
Thank you, Mr. Producer. Yes.
I'll hang in here for just a second, and then I'm going to disappear behind the scenes.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Sheldon.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
Doing great. I love the backdrop, friend. Looks great. It looks
Okay,
great. I know you were early tonight. I'm so sorry about that.
No.
No.
Mr. Birch, that was my fault. I fat fingered that stupid email. So
Happens to
Thank
all
you.
of us.
well, I'm supposed to be the tech guy, you know, and yeah. All right. I'm going to let you two carry on.
Thank you, friend. So welcome tonight, Sheldon. I'm just new. Usually my co-host Jared runs all the tech stuff, and now that I'm doing the show solo, I've had KMMU's producer come in and help me. So please forgive us. I know you were waiting for me tonight, and I apologize about that.
No problem at all.
So let's jump into it. You were running for the House rep seat for District 29. I know it well. It is my district. And our friend, Bridger Bolander, has decided not to run again, which is what made you also want to run. But give me a little bit about what you do, where you're from currently.
Sure. By the way, is my audio okay? Am I loud enough?
Yeah. I can hear you great.
Okay, great. Well, I am a pharmacist by trade, and I own some local pharmacies, some independent pharmacies. So it makes me a business owner too. And I have no business training other than the School of Hard Knocks, but maybe sometimes perhaps that's the best school of training, at least for small businesses. I don't know. I probably shouldn't say that. I'm sure that's not true.
Oh, no, I know small businesses have a lot of hard knocks they go through. Having been an owner myself,
Sure.
You get to know red tape really well. You get to know how government can impact your life so much. And you're just trying to do a small business. I can only imagine what it's like for large corporations.
Yeah, true. I'm, let's see, I'm married with 5 children, ages 17 to 25. I lived in Tooele City for a few years and served on their planning and zoning for a bit, and moved to Erda, and I've served on the Erda City Council for a bit. So 23 years total in the Tooele Valley. I was raised originally in Central Washington, Eastern Washington. Similar valley in my mind. I was raised in the Yakima Valleys, which I find remarkably similar to the Tooele Valley. It's probably one of the reasons that I was attracted to this area. So
that's great. And you, of course, own Birch Pharmacy, which is, you have a few locations in the townships like Grantsville City, Stansbury Park, Tooele City.
Correct. And
do you have more than that?
Yeah, we have Cedar Valley Pharmacy in Eagle Mountain, and I've got Ochre Mountain Pharmacy in Magna.
So one thing I've noticed that people, and I use the University of Utah Pharmacy since I've lived here, which is about 25 years. I have been going to that one, and the people know me really well, and I just love the pharmacy. So when I heard your name and that you were running, of course, we were running against each other for a time. I had to get to know my competitor, and I was so impressed with how many people talked about your business and how well it's run and how it feels like a small town pharmacy. You know people's names, you talk to them about their health and all of that, but they just feel like you've got everything. You've got everything and more. You can do a number of things that even my pharmacy doesn't do. but you're still got that small town feel, which makes it special to a lot of the people that I talk to that maybe don't know you, politically, but they know you based on your pharmacy, and it's got a stellar reputation in the area. So that's really cool.
Well, it's good to hear. I mean, the only reason I really have the opportunity to even consider running for an office like this is because the communities have been so supportive of our businesses, which is fantastic. And so that success allows me a little bit of freedom, perhaps, to step away and see if I can give back to the communities in this way. That's kind of my intent. Is I just feel a little bit of civic duty. I don't really feel like I have much of an axe to grind, so to speak, but I do feel a duty to my communities.
Well, on that note, I'm curious because, like I said, we're both friends with Bridger. I know he adores us both. We've had this conversation multiple times because he was kind of stuck in the middle when we both were running. And before I stepped down, I did get a chance to speak with you, and I'm impressed with how civic minded you are. You do a lot of service. I imagine being on Erda's city council was not easy, considering that you were one of the first elected, right?
I'm sorry, I was one of the what?
First elected on from the first of their government becoming a city officially.
I was not. No, I was the first round of elections just after that. So
okay.
I was elected 2 years after incorporation. So Jess Bird was my city councilman, and he was elected in the first round. But he believed strongly in term limits, and always insisted that he was only going to do his first 2-year term and step down, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
And so I ran at that point.
Running a city is not easy, I'm sure, especially a brand new one.
Yeah, we're a small city, so we don't have all of the same stresses that larger cities do, but we have our own unique set of problems because we're new and we're learning, and the budget is limited, and we have to be careful, and we have to be conservative and responsible so that we don't have a lot of wiggle room, a lot of room for error, right?
Yeah, and you get a lot of
government shouldn't have room for error. So
well, that is something you and I share, the small government feel. That is something I think that I wished every American could see that for black and white. That the more government you have involved, the less freedoms you have, and it is that simple. And especially business owners, I find really appreciate when the government is not in their pockets. And for me, it was constant. We had to have lawyers constantly arguing things that was like, we had patents, and so with the lawyers babysitting our patents, and with EPA making sure that we're doing this right and this right. And yes, we wanted to do right by our government, but then you get into the IRS, right? And then you're paying quarterly, which some people can't even fathom that, where you're writing a check to the IRS every quarter instead of getting any back at the end of the year. And it's just a lot goes into running a business. A lot goes into governing a brand new city. You had a lot of not, you didn't know a lot that was going to be coming to you as a brand new councilman. Erda was a learning curve for a lot of you guys. So I am curious, like, how did you deal with that, with new things happening and new, I want to say problems, but not every problem is that. It's just a learning experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it still is. How do we deal with it? Well, for me, I try to recognize what I don't know, which is a lot. I feel like I'm an expert in a few very narrow areas, a couple of areas of healthcare, and maybe in Mustangs from the 1960s.
Nice.
but maybe not even that. I'm not sure I should even call myself an expert there. But there's a lot of things I'm not an expert in, and city government certainly has been one of them. So it's something that where I think we have to know who to reach out to. I think we have to build networks and build relationships so that we know who to reach out to when we need help understanding the ramifications of decisions and the choices that we make. And that comes from experts in a field, and can also just come from general citizens and say, hey, if this decision is made, how does it affect you, right? We shouldn't pretend like any decision only affects us, or pretend like our viewpoint of it is the only viewpoint to be considered.
That's so true. I think that you and I spoke about this at length, but I hope that you can continue to keep people informed if elected. I see that about you as somebody that really does seek to understand, and that you would, have town halls and things like that where you can get close to the citizens that really want to be involved. I know that about you. You already want to have their input, for your business. I could see that being the same in government. And I think it's a blessing that we have business owners and, stay-at-home moms and retired folks all in government, because they have to represent the population as best they can. And I think if you just have nothing but experts up there who all know everything, you miss that finite detail of, the family that is struggling, that is barely making it. And those decisions affect all of us. And we need to make sure that we're hearing back from the citizens.
I really like that. I think you've mentioned a couple times already how this relationship that you and I have had with Representative Bolander. He's a great guy, and big shoes to fill for whoever gets elected to this seat. And but I learned that from him, partially. He has been accessible. The reason that one of the reasons I feel like I may be able to do this job is because I've worked with him the last couple of sessions on some bills that were of interest to me, and he's introduced me to the legislature and how it's worked. And he has been so accessible and responsive to me. I want to be that same way. So
yeah,
there's no reason to hide. There's nothing to hide. We need to communicate.
Well, and I'm happy to help you in that genre any way I can. I know doing town halls, I think, are awesome, and I've hosted many. And even before I was elected in the GOP, I, as a citizen, had town halls with all of our county leadership, just because I thought it was important that a citizen could go out and talk to the people that were representing them. Every seat, and they all showed up, and we went to Wendover even, and it was awesome, and I'd love to do it again. And knowing you would do that, I'm sure you would do that with us. I just think that the citizen has to play a role in your election, in your campaign, and that way you've got somebody that's keeping you grounded, but also that you can lead. There's so much importance in that a lot of people don't know what to do right now. And if it's not gas prices, it's medical, and somebody's suffering with medical expenses, and understanding the day-to-day that everybody's dealing with, their housing costs, property tax, tied into schools. And you and I talked about schools and about property tax. People like that are the reason people like you do what you do, right? Both serving the community in your business, and now you want to serve in a government level. And I think that's important. Bridger had his ears to the ground, listening to the people, but also he was learning all he could from anyone that could teach him. And I loved that about him. I still love that about him, is his curiosity to know.
Me too. When I proposed a couple of ideas to him for my industry, his line was, "Hey, I'm just a rock guy. You're going to have to help me with this stuff, right? Because I don't know what you're talking about." And I'm going to be the same way. I don't know if I can say I'm the drug guy. That's probably not a good idea, but that's where my expertise is. And outside of that, I have to be a listener because I don't pretend to know everything about other topics.
Well, Tooele County has a lot of topics.
Yeah, true.
And let's talk about what you have learned as a candidate from the people. I know you worked the delegates. I know you worked really closely with getting to know all the delegates. That's not an easy feat. And as well as the general public. So what do you think are the top issues in Tooele that you've heard from people?
This is an interesting thing for me because in my naivety, I suppose, in beginning this campaign, I thought it was really important that I needed to develop my platform and tell everyone what my platform was. And what I realized really quickly was that that's way less important than learning what's important to everyone else.
Right.
And really, it's my job to figure out, just as you described, what's important to the citizens that I represent, and try and build a unified voice and take that to the state level and represent that at the state level. That's at least one important part of the job, right? Things that are important, people here are worried about taxes, as you mentioned, and rightly so. We are highly taxed as far as our county goes. I realize at the state level, I don't control county taxes, but nevertheless, what I can help with at the state level is I believe I can help encourage some commercial and industrial growth in our area, and by doing so, shift the balance or the burden of our taxes, and help reduce the burden on the residents by raising or by bringing business, and on top of that, that brings jobs, right?
Yeah.
So right now, what is it? 70% of our Tooele County workforce commutes, I believe.
It's almost 80.
80. So if we could bring a few more local jobs this direction, we can get people off the roads. We improve safety. We improve family time, or increase family time, and we improve our own tax situation here in the valley. I'm a big proponent of this potential nuclear campus that's coming to the valley, or that should be. We're hoping will come to the valley. It's not officially announced yet. I think that will bring grand opportunities for us. I think it'll be a transformative opportunity for Tooele County. And that's one of the things that I've actually been hearing from people as I've knocked doors and I've talked to people is that's what they want. They want support for these issues like transportation, water use, all of these infrastructure issues that we deal with as a growing community, right?
Definitely.
And I think we need to unify our voices. If we're talking especially about the Tooele Valley, I think we need to work together as municipalities. The municipalities in the valley need to work together, and the leaders need to work together to unify our voice. And then in that way, if I'm in this House position, I can take a unified opinion and voice to the state legislature and represent what's good for the valley overall, the more we work together.
Collaboration is needed. I've said that a long time as the chair. The one thing we can do is get mayors and council members, county cities, all in a room, including our congressperson, with our representatives and our senators, because the collaboration together is so much better for a county like ours. It just is. We've got all this space out in the West Desert, and you could do all this work to get, big businesses to come out and relieve our tax burden by coming to the county. And then you get one city or, even a county council that doesn't like the idea, and it puts that business in a terrible position, and it basically cuts you off at the knees on what you're trying to give back. So absolutely, we need to have those relationships built. And I don't think it should be a party thing. It should be a community thing. And I love the idea that you'd be open to make sure that happens. The
Yeah.
nuclear plan is phenomenal because, I mean, Dwayne and I were just discussing the data center in Box Elder and how upset people are. I've heard pros and cons about it. We discussed it a little bit. And then I think about, well, Box Elder's up in arms over it, whereas I'm getting the impression that us getting a nuclear facility would be very positive with our public. And I think it'd be very positive. And if the citizens of our county were able to get the benefit of that energy, dropped the costs, and then spread out from there, or even the benefit goes to the state and then we sell it, whatever energy we can, out from there. I mean, I love the idea.
I do
And
too. I think there's a lot of things to be figured out still about it, and I'd be excited to be a part of the process. I know that right now there's sort of a threat from the state for Millard County, and of course Millard County is part of this House District 29 as well. And one of the issues there is that they are getting data centers there, and data centers and this nuclear campus can be a real boon to our property tax situation and our infrastructure. And for that reason, there's a lot of people down there who are excited about it. But there's also a threat, so to speak, from the state of some of the revenue being taken back to the state level and then redistributed. And of course, the people of Millard County are not in favor of that. And I don't think that here in Tooele County we'd be in favor of that idea either. I think that if the communities are going to accept the responsibilities associated with these campuses, that we should benefit from them also. And that's a strong voice that I'll have at the state level in favor of our local communities.
I could not agree more. If Millard County is willing to take on doing, and especially if they're doing both, the data center and a nuclear center, like that.
No, I may have misspoken there. The data centers are there, and the nuclear is here in the Tooele County.
Oh, I thought they were going to take on both. I'm like, oh, but you know, the nuclear requires less water than they used to, and they are smaller, safer. I would love to see that. I don't know how Utah is going to get through. You know, I don't know if the government is going to step in with red tape to stop the building of a nuclear facility. But as far as our governor seems to be really behind it, and I'm hopeful that our representatives and senators are behind it. And I do think that if we do bear that and we do take that into our county, we should get the benefit of it. So I appreciate that. That would be horrible to see nothing come of it, you know, when it could be a nice tax easement for us, hopefully.
Right. And
So,
in addition to the tax benefits, we ought to be able to take a strong voice that goes and fights for our community at the state and the federal level and say, hey, okay, we need to, along with this campus, we're gonna be supporting it with our industries here. So we need some money to develop our infrastructure to support those things. We need money for the Mid-Valley to complete the Mid-Valley Highway, or we need money for maybe it's a valley-wide wastewater treatment system, or whatever the case may be. There's a number of needs that we have, and that could go hand in hand with supporting these new industries.
so what do you think right now that the counties that want it are probably willing to do a lot to get it? If we go in asking for it, are we able to put in things like that, or do we just ask for it first and then make the deal later on what benefits we can get from it? Because I imagine we're fighting with other counties to get it.
Well, I should be careful how much I say, because I haven't been in the room for these negotiations. Most of what I know about it, I have heard from our county leadership and other things, and it's things that they have shared publicly. But there are apparently 10 sites around the country identified. The site here in Tooele County is unique in the idea that it has ready access to interstate transportation as via trucks and vehicles, as well as train. There's already a rail line and perhaps a spur right there. So the Tooele County option is unique compared to the other options on the table in that regard. And I've also been told by our county leadership that there is at least some room for some negotiation and some support to the communities that want this
Perfect.
campus.
Well, and that gets me, I love that. When you and I spoke, there was something that was really important to me that I know is very important to our community that has been, and then just kind of go from taxes and get into property tax. A lot of the community felt like they were slapped in the face by our school board in the meeting last summer, where I don't know if you were there, but I know you heard about it, and I was there. The fact that they went on and voted anyway, and voted for the tax hike. What I think people are trying to get to understand is we currently have terrible test scores here in our county, and we have bad teacher morale. So to raise taxes more and it feels like we're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result in education. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I actually learned a lot talking directly with one of the board members as recently as caucus night. And I got to hear, now we've invited them on the show, and we know, and they haven't been on, but it was nice to hear her side and to kind of get an idea. What I didn't want them to do is blame local legislature, because I know legislature has a hand in it, but there's a lot of powers they have the legislature can't touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our county council can't touch it. And it is property tax. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. And Mr. Producer is trying to talk to me. Thank you for joining us tonight, by the way. Before you answer, we are on Political Head Trauma, and you can hear us on KMMU on Main Street Media, Utah. We're live on X and Rumble, YouTube. You can find us, share, like, subscribe. That helps us a lot. Leave a comment. That also helps us with the algorithm, and so we can get more people out there. I am Holly, your host, and my guest tonight is Sheldon Birch, who is running for District 29 in Utah's House seat. And we hope that you'll tell a friend if you enjoy this and share with your friends. And we take comments. Find us on Facebook on Political Head Trauma as well. We are taking comments on YouTube, so I'm seeing those comments in real time. So please feel free to leave us a comment if you have a question for Sheldon. But thank you, Mr. Producer, for the reminder. But back to my question is what your thoughts are on property tax. You've been affected. I know I've been affected. My taxes have gone up almost a full house payment for most people in the last 3 to 4 years. And I don't know how people on a fixed income can even afford to keep their homes. It is ridiculous. We need legislature, I think, to step in and either make rules that say, hey, if you've paid off your house, or if you have retired, or you've lived in the community for a certain amount of time, or there's got to be something they can do to help those that are losing their homes over this tax that just keeps going up and up, right? On a fixed income. I feel like there is something legislature could do. And as you know, every seat is getting challenged for those running for school board because of this issue. The public is really upset about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, just quickly before I answer that question, Holly, I'm just going to put a plug in for you. Just say thank you for having me. I didn't do that yet, but what an honor it is just to be here and be a part of this. So thank you, Holly. As far as the property tax goes, yeah, I believe I've probably spoken to the same school board member that you did, or because I think I've spoken to all of them. So I'm sure I spoke to the one you did not. And I've also met with the superintendent, and I've also met with others who are outside of the the school district administration to discuss these issues. And I agree with you. There really should not be a case where someone loses their home because of this. That just seems completely unfair and incorrect to me. And there should not be a case. We should not allow there to be a case where that happens. And so I agree that we need to find a solution. I don't know what the solution is yet. As far as that goes, we are in such a unique situation here in the Tooele Valley because we are growing quickly and we're growing primarily in a residential form. And really the answer for me is we actually need to encourage some commercial and industrial growth out here. The more of that we can encourage, the more we fix our problem and solve our problem. I would like to think that there might also be some legislative solutions for this too. I'm not going to pretend like I can propose what that solution is yet.
Sure. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
It's going to be learning for you, the same it was for Bridger. Nobody goes into government knowing exactly what they're going to do, because the real world hits you of how much you don't know. It is like a baptism by fire, if you will.
Sure. I learned from the superintendent the other day about how when their budget is controlled at a state level. Some aspects of their budget are controlled at the state level. The same way, or in a similar way, that a city's budget is controlled. There are buckets that they're allowed to place revenue in, and there are limits on how much revenue can go into each bucket. And in Tooele County, they are bumping up against the limit in the bucket, which is used for to pay teachers and run schools and do all of the everyday work of a school district. Really, the only solution I see to that doesn't punish the residents who are paying those taxes is to encourage some commercial and industrial growth. Because as you know, and as you and I both know, businesses pay a larger proportionate share of property taxes than residents do. And so we gain ground in multiple ways when we have a successful economic engine in our community that includes commercial and industrial industries. That's the wrong way to say it, but
no. But you're coming from a county that is been pretty famous over the last, well, forever, to say not in my backyard, right? And you come from a city that has been very loud about not growing the way that maybe others have seen us needing to grow. So it's kind of refreshing to hear you say that, because I've been in many a meeting where people will be complaining about the fact that we don't have a Costco. And yet at the same time, I'm saying, you realize Costco needs a 200,000 person population, because right now they don't have to build out here because you will drive to West Valley. They know that because market research proves that. And they spend tons of money on market research picking where they're going to put their locations. And unless we get more people out here, you won't have things like Costco and Target. It's not a good investment because 5600 South has them and you've traveled to them, and that's where your dollars are being spent. Shopping local only shows you that local businesses will make more money, and that will bring other businesses here. So the more local you shop, the better outcome you'll have as getting business, to come out. But it does. You're absolutely right. If we bring more jobs here, we have less commute. We have jobs for our teenagers to do, because that's something. I mean, you look at McDonald's, there's a lot of 20 plus working at McDonald's when those jobs used to be for kids in high school. And
sure.
They're not made to pay livable wages. They're made to buy gas money and pay insurance and maybe save for college. We're seeing that a lot of businesses are not coming, and we need them to come. Our infrastructure is needed. It's extremely needed.
I agree, and we I'm not a proponent of bringing 200,000 people out here. So there's some businesses that we might not get here, but
Sure.
I am a proponent of healthy, measured growth. And in my mind, that doesn't just mean more rooftops. It means bringing the right companies and the right industries here that will provide local jobs. And I don't mean industries or companies that are going to move as soon as tax incentives expire either. I am not a fan of using tax incentives to bring businesses here, because we've seen too many cases where the tax incentives expire and the businesses move on because they see a better opportunity somewhere else. I don't think that's the right way to do it. Maybe I'll be corrected as I spend more time in government, but I hope not. I really don't like that idea and would prefer that we bring businesses here because we know we can support them, and because we know that our community will shop well, or will shop local, and because we know that our community wants to work local, and companies know that they can hire good local people to do the work. All of these things, because we have values here, right, in our communities that are special and unique, and the more we can protect those values and make those values a part of our growth process, the better off we're all going to be.
You know, our county councilman, Jared Hamner, always tells a story regarding Cabela's. When they were shopping where they were going to put their warehouse, and they were looking at all these different counties and cities. And it was interesting because Jared said that he invited them to come, but that they should come and get an Airbnb, you know, and spend some time. And the people came to Stansbury Park. And they just couldn't believe this community and how beautiful it was, and friendly, and you know how small town it felt, yet you were 25 minutes from everything. And so they kind of made their decision based on how housing and stuff would be for employees, the leaders that were going to be coming and living here with this project. I think you nailed it, because we do have that small town feel. But we are special. We are a giving community. We're a loving community. Smart, slow growth that actually is meant to last for generations is what we want, right?
And the more of that we can coordinate between our municipalities, the healthier it will be overall in the long run too.
So true. You're dead on with that. And we have colleges and universities and tech college here to educate our youth and hopefully give a very hireable populace for companies coming in. And I think of Wendover, and having been at town hall out there, and how their kids don't stay. They have to leave. They have to leave to go find work. And Wendover's in a really tough spot, located between BLM and the border, and you would be representing them. And few people show up when we would have the town hall or candidates out there. It's not a lot of people engaged, and a lot of people are retiring there. Their children have moved on. It would be nice, and I've talked about this before with Merrill Nelson. I think that would be a good idea, maybe to do something like make the Salt Flats a state park, giving them industry or protections to where they can develop around it. BLM gives it to the state, and allows Wendover to expand and put new hotels or build new places, so people are visiting the Salt Flats year after year, but they're staying in Nevada.
I really like that idea. I hadn't heard that proposal before, so I don't know what the hurdles would be there yet, but I did talk to a resident of Grantsville who's a few weeks ago, he's a racer, and they go out and race on the Salt Flats, and he said, hey, what are you going to do to protect the Salt Flats? And honestly, I hadn't thought about it. I just, one of those things that hadn't occurred to me. The same way I spoke with a resident down in Millard County who said, hey, what can you do? What can the state do to better support adoptive parents? And I don't know, because I've never been in that situation, didn't realize that was a real concern. And those are the things that I've been learning, is that there are some really specific issues that maybe we could do some good on if we just work together. And I don't know the answer on the salt flats, but the salt flats, that idea that you just proposed sounds really promising to me.
I
The more,
I thought it was great, and Merrill Nelson thought it was great, and he was representing before Bridger, and I'm not sure that we have. I'm not sure either what the hurdles would be, but I could see it being beneficial both to Tooele County and
yeah,
Wendover, because
me
Wendover
too.
could really use it. You know,
Yeah,
to be able to expand. They really can't grow, and you know it breaks my heart to see. And you
yeah.
know they have a lot of law enforcement there. Everything is across the border. It'd be nice for them to have that growth opportunity and for us to preserve a part of our county that is special.
It would. Tooele County is so unique because I believe 80% of our land mass is government owned. I think I've got that statistic right, and we really should do everything we can to gain more local control over those things, I believe.
I agree. And I don't know if Topaz Mountain is protected in Millard, but that is a childhood memory. We went every year for Easter, and it is one of the greatest things outside of Delta ever. And I hope they protect that. You
I've
know,
been once. I've been once with some friends, and we were there when our children were young, and one of the children fell and split his head open, and so we didn't spend much time there. We ended up with an emergency room trip instead. So I can't wait to get back out there again.
it's so great. And on a sunny day after a rainstorms are the best. That's when you find the most topaz. It
Oh,
sparkles like a diamond in the sand, and
the
it's
rain, the
great.
rain cleans it up, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool. But something like a state park, you know, we have a lot of parks already in national parks, but BLM does own the majority of our county, which eventually, if we grow too much, we have to start building up and not out. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Salt Lake County doesn't have to worry about that, but rural Utah does. And so, you know, if the government is going to give us property for the nuclear plant, um, I mean, if that's where they're planning on it, I'm not exactly sure. You know, Energy Solutions is out there. They use very little of the resources of our community, and they pay way more in property tax. So something like that is should always be in the back of the mind of leadership, because if you know we preserve Zion, and that is a national park, but look at all the little businesses that pop up around it, all the way around it on your way to Zion. And I think that, you know, the salt flats should be preserved, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a
They are
good idea.
pretty special.
We have to be careful too, because I've learned a lot from my visits down to Millard County and Juab County that ranchers depend on some of those lands for grazing and access to them for grazing. So we have to be careful what we do, because we need to protect those things too. Agriculture is not something that's going away and shouldn't go away. We need to protect it. We need to protect that, and we need to make sure that that's a continuing opportunity here for people. So
I fully agree. And that's where the salt flats are different. You know, there's no grazing there, but it is a beautiful space for photography. And when it rains out there, it looks like you're walking on water. And there's a lot of commercials that are filmed out there. And, you know, Tooele County should be advertising, you know, come film commercials in our area, come do music videos. We've got all of this here. I think that our county could benefit a lot, but not rip people off so that we're running away like some counties have done with filming and television. That's a big one. I think learning from all the different small towns and cities is growth is one of the biggest issues. Smart growth, taxes are a big issue. Um, you know, water, roads. You mentioned the Mid Valley Highway. As many people know, that was a project we started it because of collaboration between all of our electeds. We got it pushed up with our county commissioners and our representatives and our council, or our congresswoman, who was Congressman Chris Stewart, actually, and Grantsville, Tooele City. Everybody came together on that deal. and it got pushed up ahead of schedule with our state senators as well. And the first phase is built, but now we need it finished. And the state has kind of put it on a back burner. And we know the Olympics are coming. We know a lot of money comes with the Olympics in getting roads prepared, and they are doing that. And a lot of UDOT is focused on that. But how do we get back to the front of the line again? Is it just getting more business interest out here? Because I can't imagine many businesses are going to want to pay that much in infrastructure to come. But we as a county need to get these roads done, right? 36 is so busy, and I-80 is so busy.
36 is really, really busy, and the most recent studies from the Department of Transportation say it's just going to continue to get worse, get busier and busier, and their forecast is for us not to see any relief from that until, I believe, 2055.
Yeah.
Unless we can do something else like you suggested, and such as completing the Mid-Valley Highway, creating some other routes, and we need to not just we do need to create those additional north-south routes, but then we also have to have cooperation among the municipalities to have connecting east-west thoroughfares that connect it all. And that's how we find some relief on SR 36 long term. The more we can collaborate and cooperate together, the faster we can make that happen. It has the collaboration and the cooperation has more power to move us up the line than anything else, I believe. Now, on top of that, if we could also advocate perhaps to maybe there's a chance for us to advocate to have an event. Event's the wrong word. I can't think of the word. A center for an event center built out here in conjunction with the Olympics. Maybe we could convince the powers that be to build a hockey rink out here, and we can be the host for those things, and then we get some infrastructure built along with it. That's a thought that I think has merit and value.
Well, I agree totally. In fact, I don't think the state maybe has thought about where the volunteers, the Olympics are going to come from. They're going to be from counties like ours. They're going to be commuting up to events. And, I was in meetings before where the plan was to create an exit on the 201 that happens before you go around the bridge and get on I-80 that actually is like a Mountain View corridor that takes you up along the Oakers all the way into Tooele. And that project was, I think it was $2 billion or something, which was crazy. But when you actually think about the benefit of having something like that, in Mid-Valley Highway, you still have I-80, right? And you still have people stuck at that bottleneck. But to have an exit prior to them getting on I-80 would be such a game changer for a lot of people.
Agreed. And another thing that comes to mind as we discuss this is, and you're mentioning this bottleneck at the end of the valley that we're all aware of course.
Yeah.
We need transportation choices. We really do. And so when you talk about transportation choices, it's not just choice to go on a different road. It's also, we really could stand to expand the UTA bus service in our direction. With some of these things like the nuclear campus or maybe being involved in the Olympics, there may be an opportunity to run rail out here. And that could be a real positive. Right now, the Utah Trails Network has suggested approval of a feasibility study for a paved trail to run north-south through the valley between Tooele and Stansbury Park. It's just the study so far, but generally that means it's going to lead to a trail. And these days with e-bikes, if we had paved trails that connected around the point of the mountain, there's potential for people to be able to ride e-bikes and get cars off the roads that way too. Of course, that brings up new challenges with trails being shared by e-bikes at speed and walkers at the same time. There's challenges there too. There's always going to be challenges to work through. But we need to continue to work on developing options and choices for people. so that one road in and out of the valley is not the only option that we have.
You're absolutely right. In fact, we already have the rail built. Wouldn't it be neat to have the rail from Salt Lake City have the ability to come all the way out, not just to here, but one track all the way to Wendover? I mean, the track's already there. If we were able to use the Salt Lake City's rail system that goes north, south, and to take it out west, how cool would that be? Again, this is all money, folks. And we can dream big, but I like the idea, especially with, more public access. Not everyone wants to ride in a ride share system in any way, shape, or form. They like their cars. What you're suggesting then is great. Let's bring jobs then to you here so that you're not having to drive around the mountain. You'll have your job, your industry available to you here.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And I think that it's when the Ronnie Group was actually proposing their location in the satellite inland port, what they were suggesting, and I was in that council meeting, it was a commission meeting at the time years ago, but they were suggesting we want to have office buildings here. We want to invite doctors, lawyers' offices. We want to have anything and everything out on these properties, hotels, places that people can work with great college degrees or with just a diploma, a vast array of jobs available out there for everyone. And it's accessible through Mid-Valley Highway and other routes. Well, that makes sense. Not everybody loves the idea of having inland port, as you know, and yet utilizing the rail system and having a working highway with Mid-Valley, that should be a big fight to get the Mid-Valley Highway finished, just so that inland port can do what it's going to do positively for the people of our county.
I really see
appreciates that.
I really see the north side of Highway 138 as our greatest potential here. For future development in our valley that brings some of these jobs and options to us and infrastructure development to us. So, and I in the local leaders that I've spoken with at the various municipalities, seems like everybody's on board with that same idea, and that's what we need more of. Is we need more community-wide planning and collaboration to say this is what we want our valley to look like long term. Now let's take this to the state and say this is what we need to fight for at the state level. And I think the nuclear campus gives us an opportunity to fight for some of that. I think the Olympics gives us an opportunity to fight for some of that. I also think the more that our local leaders participate in committees on the Wasatch Front Regional Council and things like that, the greater voice we have and the more opportunities we have to speak up and say, hey, this is what Tooele Valley needs. So
I love it. And this is something, you're going to learn as you go, of course. But when we look into the future and we look long term, and someone like you have planning and zoning experience. So you understand how that works. But when you look long term and you're building generationally and not, I see cities and places that get desperate because they don't have that tax help from businesses long term. They get desperate and they have to sell the property to anyone. And next thing you know, you've got big, huge apartment buildings right next to ranches and then businesses in between, and it looks chaotic. And I think that's what a lot of people in the county are fearing, is where our county's going to go. And yet closing off the idea of growth is insane. We all need it. And
the right answer is somewhere in between. We need a little bit of growth, but it needs to be the right kind of growth, and it needs to be healthy, and it needs to be well planned and thought through.
And places like our county needs housing, and I hear people complain all the time, there's no affordable housing. Well, that word isn't fair, because what's affordable to you probably isn't affordable to me, and they throw that word around. But what we do need is we need smaller housing options for our elders who want to downsize but stay in the county. For first-time families, you never see any more 1,100 square foot houses go up like I was raised in with 6 kids. They're all enormous, and I can appreciate that. But that too is where collaboration between municipalities come in. Just having those, bringing in developers that want to build smart neighborhoods that maybe are on the smaller side, or bringing in areas. I wish Wendover could do stuff like that, but maybe each city gives a portion of the city to focus on 1 acres or half-acre lots or 0.25 acre lots with smaller housing on it. That's a crisis that we're being told is a serious crisis. But you can't keep building homes and not bring in business. That gets everybody upside down.
Yeah, that's the real piece of the puzzle for me. Is it can't be one-sided or lopsided growth that way. It needs to be balanced growth. And we do need to recognize that local communities have their own feelings about what type of growth is healthy for those communities, and that's okay. The state should not be taking over zoning from those communities.
I agree.
The smaller and more local a government is, the better it represents the people, right? And the state should recognize that and support that, really. As long as those communities are willing to work to help be parts of the solutions.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I know there is word on the street that the governor wants to create a board that takes over planning and zoning. I absolutely disagree with that. You are absolutely right that the municipality or township, like I live in, we should have at the most local level, deciding what our growth looks like. We have to also put in mind the roads. Growth, with more growth, you need more roads. And 36 is the artery in this it holds this whole area together. And as wide as they want to make it, or, wherever they're going to make outlets, has to be smartly designed, but completed. The Mid-Valley Highway is great. We need it done. I know you're going to fight for it. I hope that all of our local municipalities will fight for it. And with the Olympics coming, they're going to direct towards other areas, I'm sure, of where they need that road money. And I personally want someone who's going to stand up and say, listen, your volunteers are coming out of my county. Our county needs to have this finished. You started it. We can't leave it unfinished. You're hurting the businesses. You're hurting the population out here. And I believe you'll fight for us. I think that's fantastic.
I think I will too. I don't know if I'm the boxing gloves kind of fighter, but I am the kind of fighter who will build relationships and work with people. And I believe I will be heard and listened to, because I will take a respectful approach to representing who we are at the state level.
Fantastic. Well, and then with your background in medical, I know with pharmacy, where do you see your background coming in when it comes to legislature? Where can you assist? What are there boards you're looking to serve on? And if so, what do you see your contribution could be on the state level?
Well, I'll make a couple of comments about that. One is, a couple of years ago when I started working on bills for my industry with Representative Bullender, I really did think that I knew it all in my industry, and realized really quickly that even in my own industry, there are a lot of aspects that I just hadn't considered and hadn't thought of. So certainly, I think it would be helpful to have another legislator who is a business-minded legislator and who has a healthcare background. We have just a few of those in the legislature now. We do have a couple of doctors. We do have a nurse. We have one other pharmacist. There's just a handful. And I've heard multiple times that an additional voice in that regard would be welcomed up there and could be helpful in a lot of discussions. Exactly which committee that puts me on, I don't know. Because, interestingly, Representative Bolander, who's the rock guy, was head of social services or health and human service, whatever it was, right? Something that's really outside of his realm. So sometimes those assignments come in unique ways and for other reasons. But whatever assignment I'm given, I can definitely bring the perspective of the people that I see at the pharmacy who I know are struggling to pay their bills, struggling to pay for their prescription medications because their property taxes have gone up, or because their water bill has gone up, or because their sewer bill has gone up, or because the drugs themselves have gone up. There's all of these reasons, and there's people who are struggling, and I see it every day at the pharmacy counter. And whatever committee assignment I end up on, I can take that perspective and apply it to that committee. When on the Tooele Technical College board, when I was appointed to that board, I assumed that I would end up on the committee that oversees the pharmacy tech program or something like that. But instead, I was assigned to the Finance and Audit Committee, which I didn't think was really in my realm. But it's been a really great learning experience and an opportunity to go and take these types of perspectives and apply them in a different way. One of the things that I think is unique about me and my background is that the way I look at things from the is I want to know what the worst case scenario is. When I have a patient situation in front of me with a medication and a health concern, I want to be thinking, okay, what are the actual risks here? And what can we do about those risks? If we make a certain decision, what are the consequences of that for the patient, for their pocketbook, for their health? What are the risks? And can we handle the risks? Are we able to tolerate the risk that we're taking? Are there ways that we can mitigate the risks? And that's the type of thinking that I will take to my decisions at the legislature, to say, okay, if this bill does this, what does it actually mean? And what are the risks? So it says this on the surface, what is the risk to the people that I represent? And can we handle that risk? Is that a positive or a negative?
That's fantastic. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. It got a little quiet for a second, but that's fantastic.
It might be because I'm getting too casual here in my cushy chair. I'll scoot up.
Well, that's what I want. I want it to be casual. I think that, I think people really need to remember that people that are willing to run for office and serve, they're just people. And you put people put a lot on candidates and electeds, and sometimes they forget that they're your neighbors and they're just trying to do what's right, and they go in with that mentality, and it's sometimes people forget that and they'll treat you different. I don't know why the screen's changed. Maybe my producer is no longer.
I've heard a number of complaints about the number of bills. How is it possible for these legislators to deal with 1,000 bills in a session? And it's a valid complaint. But we have to remember that every one of those bills stems from someone having an issue or having an idea that they think needs some attention, or an issue that needs to be solved. And so every one of them needs to be treated with some respect and considered reasonably, at a minimum. So
I agree with you. In fact, I got bills that I think are the most important bills in the world that I'm going to be making phone calls when the time comes. So hopefully, you're right. The bill matters to somebody, and it matters very, very much. And then they've talked to enough people that it matters to a group. I'm glad they'll at least get a conversation, or they'll get heard. I want to introduce everyone to your website. It's very nice. And I want you to tell people how best to communicate with you and to support you if possible. Is it your website?
yeah, sure. The website's a great place to do it. My wife's not a big fan of that picture because she thinks I have messy hair in that picture, but I'm not too picky. The website has my contact info there. I have an email address and a phone number there. You're welcome to reach out to me on either one of those. If you'd like to donate to the campaign, we can certainly use help with that. But primarily, just don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions and say, hey, this is what's important to me. What do you think? That type of thing.
How are you doing with volunteers? Are you looking for people to volunteer?
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to be doing some door knocking here over the next week or so, and we could use a number of volunteers for that. We've had a few send us their information and say they're interested, but we can take as many volunteers as are interested.
Folks, for those of you, I know a lot of you, money's tight and the economy's rough, and sending money might not be something you can do, but it means so much to candidates if you're willing to give your time, making phone calls or knocking on doors, or simply putting a sign in your yard. If you live in a high traffic area, especially, these things are all so important to candidates. And I implore you, if you like what you've heard tonight, and he is somebody that you'd like to vote for, and you'd like to give, if you can't throw some dollars, at least throw your time in there, so that, I mean, it matters a lot.
It absolutely matters. I have a list of people right now waiting for yard signs, and I could just send somebody out with some yard signs to be placed. Thank you, Holly, for offering that.
You do have yard signs, and I know those aren't cheap, so I highly recommend it. If you live in a busy place that'll have lots of eyes, and you want to put a sign up, get in touch with his campaign. I know it's harder to put your campaign signs in like the ends of cul-de-sacs and things like that, but the support is always appreciated, I'm sure. I'm thinking like a candidate, like where placement would be.
I love it no matter where they go, because in my mind, if it's at the end of a circle and the end of a row, and and 3 or 4 neighbors see it and say, I wonder who that is, that's good enough.
Perfect. So you go to votesheldonbirch.com if you want to look at the issues that he is focusing on. And again, like he said, he started with thinking he had this platform, but getting to talk to you and I, it's expanding, and you're forced to learn a lot more about things maybe. And campaigning isn't easy, but you're making it look easy, Sheldon.
No, well, that's nice of you. It doesn't feel easy.
It's not easy, but you're making it look easy. I think we've covered a lot of it. Please get in touch with him if you have questions. As far as accessibility, you have definitely been someone that is accessible. And you thanked me. I have to thank you for coming on. This is politics is a love of mine, and I just like to get to know the folks who are willing to put themselves out there and do this thankless job, because it is not easy. And you obviously have the support of an amazing family, and a lot of people I love and respect are voting for you. And so I really wanted the time to get to know you and hear your thoughts on certain issues. I think when you talk about collaboration as being so important, that is a big issue that could solve many problems. I like small government. I like smart growth and generational growth, where you're thinking long term. And I do love the idea of getting more businesses out here and to alleviate our tax burden. We live in a special community. Preserving that special community is so important. And for someone who owns a business that is still considered a small business, you have your locations, and you probably could grow, right? I mean, pharmaceuticals is needed everywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we probably use too many of them. But yes,
right.
It's something that is just a part of our life these days for all of us, it seems like, or most of us. Although I did talk to an herbalist the other day who impressed me with his health, and I'm envious of someone who doesn't have to be on medications. And the more we can de-prescribe, the better. But for sure, yeah, it's a business that can grow. But according to my wife, we're not doing any more businesses. So
yeah, I'm sure she'd like to see you more, and maybe not work so hard. But it is you don't get more mom and pa than the local pharmacy.
Right.
I feel like. But again, you're right. A lot of a lot of shade comes when you get into big pharma, as they call, the drug industry, which is different than the pharmaceutical industry. But I have to know, people say that drug costs go up, but it's not necessarily the pharmacies that are charging it. It's the in between the pharmacy and in between the insurance. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a complicated system, and it's overly complex. And one of my priorities would be to try and change this and protect people and protect patients a little bit. But there are middlemen in the industry who have built their business model as a rebate-based model, and so that incentivizes them to actually raise prices. So they have an incentive to cause prices to go higher because they are paid on a rebate percentage basis themselves, and they're middlemen in the industry who really don't do anything. They're not pharmacy. They shuffle paper. Really is what they do. They don't provide care, and we really need to tackle that in this country because our drug costs are out of control, and it's not because of what any of the pharmacies that you use, whether it's the one you go to or mine or any of the others in our communities. It's not because of what we're charging people. In reality, we have very little power to set any of our prices. It's set by these middlemen. Our prices are. How much you pay and how much I am paid is all set by these middlemen.
Is this a federal issue? Like, is this something you can tackle on a local level?
It's some of both. Senator Vickers has been, well, I shouldn't even, it is Senator Vickers. Senator Vickers is a pharmacist in our Utah legislature, and he has done an awful lot working with all the various stakeholders in our state to try and control some of these things, and he deserves some credit for that, a lot of credit for that. There are some things that we would love to be seen or love to see solved at the national level, but I don't want to wait for that. There are also things we can do at a state level. For example, I see tens of millions of dollars of waste in the Medicaid, the state Medicaid budget related to this very factor, and I think there are ways that we could change it just within our state and save enough money to pay for the Mid-Valley Highway or whatever else we might need.
Sheldon, this to me should be a number one issue. And I say that because every American right now has some sort of medical situation, or they will in their lifetime. Drugs right now for seniors, sometimes they don't eat because they have to afford medicine. These middlemen, and I've seen this before, and I've thought this is like this feels so corrupt to me. And at the same time, your insurance company is having to pay more. I mean, they're getting ripped off no different than the citizen in a lot of cases because of this middleman. I would like you to go to the state level and be unleashed on this topic.
I would love that. It's one of my absolute priorities, but I do have to be careful that I don't engage in self-dealing. When I get there, I have to make sure that I'm representing the people and what's good for the people and the state, and avoid things where it appears that I'm trying to benefit my business.
Of course.
So,
but you're talking to somebody who I would be the first person to throw that in your face. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't want someone to go up there and work for Big Pharma. I want you to work for me. But now I'm putting on my citizen hat. I have medical issues and I can barely afford my medicine.
And I am the opposite of Big Pharma. I am small pharma by definition. I am the small local pharmacist. If anything, that's what I'll do is go up and stand up to these big companies. We have massive companies. Two of these companies that we're discussing are Fortune 10 companies. 2 of the 10 largest companies in our country are these companies, and we have to stand up to them because healthcare is no longer a free market in this country, and we need market-based systems that work for individuals, and healthcare is not one right now. We need to fix that.
This feels like a made-up job. that these people have. They're shuffling papers. They're just making money and they're not doing anything. The pharmacy's doing what it does. The drug companies do what they do. The insurance does what it does. Doctors do what they do. This feels criminal to me. And so as a citizen who has to take drugs through a pharmacy, and for every senior that has to be on Medicaid or get their drugs, I want you to go after this issue like crazy. And if you have the inside knowledge on it, that to me feels like you are already a step ahead of most people who could even do it. Like, as a legislator, you could do this, and you could do this well, and you would be representing every American on their plight here, because every American will have to deal with drug companies sometime in their life.
Well, I appreciate the encouragement.
Astounding.
I appreciate the encouragement, because it's definitely a hot button issue for me, and I would like to be able to make a difference in this regard.
I'm so glad I asked you that question, because I figured who better would know than a pharmacist what this middleman is that I'm paying for every time I pay for medication, and what insurance argues about it. Doctors argue about it, and I still don't understand what they even do, what these people do that are setting these outlandish prices. So, yeah, I would say let you loose, bull in a china shop, go crazy, because there is not an argument I can think of that would say you're putting your business first in this argument. Yeah, pharmacies are going to have to pay it regardless, but they will charge the customer. They're a business at the end of the day. Doctors are going to prescribe it regardless, because their job is to help the patient at the end of the day. So I don't see anyone able to accuse you of looking out for your own interest. This is about the patient and them getting ripped off, and in a very blatant way. So my goodness, I would have started with this first had I thought about it. But I appreciate this being an issue for you that you plan on taking on. I'd fully support it.
It is. It's something that is for sure. It is an aspect at minimum of waste in our government, and possibly an issue of fraud. And it's all being done with taxpayer dollars. And there's no reason we should be afraid of trying to tackle this issue.
Well, I know JD Vance has been in California as of late, going over the fraud that is the hospice companies that are popping up and different things like that. How do you feel about that? I think I've got your answer just now, but how do you feel about doing a big audit on fraud, waste, and abuse here in the state of Utah, medical, or maybe just the benefits of tax dollars?
Yeah, 2 years ago, it's been a couple of years more than that now, the state legislature commissioned a study of these middlemen and their role in the state Medicaid system. And that's where the tens of millions of dollars of savings could come from that I've mentioned. It's a study that was done and is complete already. And there's obviously differing interpretations of their data. There always is. But let me give you an example. These middlemen are allowed to own their own pharmacies. So the middleman comes to me and gives me a contract and says, take it or leave it on this contract, basically. There's no negotiation. It's, hey, because we're allowed to own our own pharmacy, we don't need you in our network. So if you want to have access to these patients, here's your contract. Take it or leave it. We don't care. And what happens is they ratchet down the price, what they pay the pharmacy, and then they pay us a dollar amount, and then they go back to the insurance company or the plan sponsor or the employer and charge them a different price. So they create a spread for themselves. They create a profit margin for themselves. And an example is there's an example of a drug where this one is a TRICARE example. TRICARE is the federal government issue that you mentioned, but it's the same issue. The company that's been hired to run the TRICARE benefit pays an independent pharmacy $400 and something for a certain generic drug, and pays their own pharmacy $33,000 for the same drug. And that's taxpayer money. That's government money.
That
and
is
that's
crony
just,
capitalism.
yeah, it is. It is. And I'm a capitalist, right? I'm a business owner, and I'm in this business too. But that is, in my mind, abuse to a level, especially where we're talking about taxpayer dollars. We do need to rein that in. We do need to look out for our taxpayers, look out for our citizens, and be more careful about how we spend our dollars, our taxpayer dollars, with these companies.
Do you think that, I imagine this company would have its own lobby? Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think that you could create a bill that you could get people on board to defeat a lobby like this? I mean, you would be taking on a giant, I'm sure. If they have that kind of income, I guarantee there's lobbies up there in everybody's ear.
There is, yep, and unfortunately, there's a couple of Utah-based companies that are involved in this too, and so we have to be careful that we're not, punishing Utah-based companies. But I think the key in this is for someone with perspective in this area to get up there and just start sharing the perspective and building a network of people who can say, "Oh, I get it now. Oh, I understand where this fraud or this waste is. Let's see what we can do about it." And so before we jump the gun and start saying, "Hey, we're gonna come out guns blazing and just go right at this lobby," we have to build our network, right? We have to share the information, and we have to say, "Hey, this is good. This is good policy. This is good for people. This is good for our budget," and we have to build that first.
And educate the populace, but more importantly, educate the legislators.
Yeah.
And the senators. I would love to help you in any way I can with that, because just seeing firsthand what expensive, and my own pharmacist is just like, sorry, that's not us. I mean, it's really, really everyday people feel this in some way, or someone in their family feels it. And when people have to decide between paying a mortgage or paying for food or paying for medicine, and this is happening behind the scenes. And as taxpayers, the fact that so much of our tax dollars is going to fraud or abuseful tactics in this crony capitalist society, it should be stopped. We should be stopping it. And I love that you're somebody ready to stop it. And I appreciate that. It's not going to be easy. It's like I said, a thankless job, but I appreciate the fact that you are willing to chat, that you're willing to engage, and that you're looking for that collaboration with everyone. I would help you in any way I can. I know you've got a lot of fans tonight. I've taken up an hour and a half like it was nothing. This has gone so fast. Is there anything you want to add or mention before we end the stream?
I don't think so. I mean, we've talked about most of the hot button issues that I can think of, and you've given me a chance even to get on my soapbox about my expertise. So I just appreciate the opportunity. I really do. I'm always apprehensive about new opportunities, but I appreciate this one. Thank you.
Well, you've got an amazing wife, and I had the pleasure of meeting your daughter as well. Is she your youngest?
No, she's my second youngest. Is that the right? She has one younger sister.
Okay. Well, you've got an amazing family and a lot of support here in the community. Have you been out to Millard County yet?
Yes, quite a few times. We've been out and met with the Farm Bureau, and been out and met with the Millard County Commission, and made a few trips out there, and got a few more coming up.
And JUAB as well. I know it's a tiny piece of JUAB.
It's a relatively big piece of JUAB, but it's not a very populated piece of
Right.
JUAB.
That's what I mean.
It's mostly out there by the Deep Creek Mountains and the Trout Creek area, and I haven't been out there yet. I need to. I want to.
Well, and if you get with the JUAB party chair or county chair, I'm sure she would assist you, at least in letting you know where your voters are, at least in the Republican ticket. And if there's anything I can help you do, I'm happy to do that. I think that's something that Bridger did that was excellent, and I know you'll do the same, is he actually showed up in those areas. And that means a lot to people in rural Utah, to see and talk to their electeds. I know it can't be all the time. You don't live that there, and it is a couple-hour drive, but man, it's beautiful country, having been through it this
It
last
is,
week.
and the people are kind and genuine, and I've really enjoyed the times I've spent down there so far.
Yeah, well, just don't let legislature turn you into somebody else. We want the same guy that went in coming back out. So I think that you'll do that.
I hope that's the case. I'm pretty sure that my wife is going to make sure that's the case. If I start crossing lines, she's going to let me know.
Good for her. She is special. That's amazing. Well, everybody, again, my big thanks to KMMU and Main Street Media and my producer, Dwayne. Thank you for everything. I have to thank Sheldon for being willing to be on the show tonight, giving me an hour and a half. I know you are busy. I really respect that you are very, very busy. And when you're not busy, you're probably thinking, oh no, I'm missing something. I should be doing something. I know what you're thinking there. And you're running a business and a family and all of that. So my thanks to you for being on tonight. It's been truly my honor. And to all of you who are watching, please stick with me next week. Show will be on at 6. I'm looking to get someone to join me from Box Elder that's going to talk about the data center. And I would have gone over it with Sheldon, but I think sticking to Tooele community, topics are really important because that's who I want him fighting for. And we have our own stuff coming. And so I appreciate your input on that tonight, Sheldon. But watch for us on Facebook. I'm going to try to get that happening so that you can log in watch us on Facebook like you used to when I had Jared along for the ride. And thank you for your comments. And also, please share this. If you like, please subscribe to our channel on Political Head Trauma or on Main Street Media and KMMU. Please subscribe, share with a friend. Let people, if you liked what you saw with Sheldon, reach out to him at his website at votesheldonbirch.com. That's an easy one to remember. And if you want to donate, he'd love that. Or if you want to donate your time and be a volunteer, or if you'd like to get a sign for your yard, if you're in District 29, reach out to him and talk to him about the issues that are important to you, because that is what he's going there to fight for. And I think that I've learned that from you tonight. And I've learned that before as well, that you really do care what people are worried about. And you are raising a family in this community, and you want it to be the best community it can be. And so I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No.
I've heard you say those things both at convention, in the
that's
county.
the great thing. That's the great thing about the House of Representatives, right? We live here too.
Yes.
We live on the place we represent. So.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you, Mr. Producer, again for the reminder. Please join us at KMMU and Main Street Media on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Also, we're on Facebook. Political Head Trauma is in all those locations. If you have a guest that you'd like us to reach out to, let me know. Leave a comment or reach out to us on our messenger as well. We read everything, and we will do our best to get those people on. We have the primary coming up. And Sheldon, when do ballots get mailed out?
Ballots get mailed out next week, the 2nd or the 3rd. I don't remember which date. What was that?
I think it's June 2nd.
June 2nd is when they go out, and so they should be received within a day or two of that next week. And
watch for them, folks. And if you are a registered Republican, you should get a ballot. If you're not, then don't worry about it. You didn't miss anything. But if you are registered, and if you want to register and you are like unaffiliated, I believe you can still register, but you can't switch parties in order to vote. But you can register if you're unaffiliated, and you go to the county clerk for that. But ballots get out on the 2nd, and you will see Sheldon Birch on the ballot running as a Republican for House District 29. Thank you again, Sheldon, and thank your amazing family. I know that it takes a village to do a campaign, and you probably have everybody working hard.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good night, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday at 6